Yeah, good evening, everyone. Today's topic for the technical PDC is about Drupal coding standards. So, this is like a fairly simple these presentations and like standards what we follow like regularly day to day. But when it is like uh, we follow it, it will be like really helpful to everyone. So first we'll look at it like understand like what is a coding standard. So the quality of the code is not just about the execution, but how it appears also. So when we are writing the code, we have to pay attention to details and be consistent. Okay, so I can give an example like about standards we follow in like English language. Okay, so in English, like in school and all, we used to write the paragraphs like this. We used to leave some space before the first word of the paragraph. This is like one standard we used to follow. But when we are writing on a website or like some novels and all, we don't leave that space over here before the first word, but we leave a white space line over here between two paragraphs. So these are like some example like of standards like in different categories we follow like. So other than this, like after full stop we leave some space over here, after comma we leave some space. So similarly there is standards in coding also. So why these uh, code standards are important? So I can give you one example is like a group of musicians trying to form a band. So if each one of them come and do like what they do the best without any togetherness over there or following one pattern, okay, the band will struggle, okay, and they'll mess up like. So it will be like impossible to create good music unless like everyone agrees on like same tempo, the same style, and like who will take the lead of the song. Okay, so because of this like the similar, it is like similar to that like coding standard, like we have to like agree on the same thing, everyone has to agree. So over here to agree everything, everyone to agree, communication is like key when we are working together as a team. So imagine if person A has a different style of writing the code and another person has a different style of writing the code. The code will look messy and like there will be like conflicts between the developers at last. So again, the most important thing will be like communication of the people, uh, so that they work together and like effectively and like form the code like maintainable code like. And like when communication is important, developers mostly communicate to the through the code. When one person writes the code and another person reads the code, and he understands, that's the communication between the developers. Okay, so one quote I was yesterday reading a blog on that, it was mentioned that programs are meant to be read by humans but only in for the computers to execute. So so now who decides these coding standards? Yeah, so for PHP, there is a pair coding standards, but for Drupal, there is a issue queue list and all that are formed over there. People put up like what standard to follow, okay, and like people put up suggestions and all. There is a discussion over that, and they come up with the standards over here. So like in PHP, there are standards like PSR1, PSR2. PSR stands for PHP standard recommendation. So and mostly Drupal is using currently Drupal 8 implements the PSR4 standards for the package base, like for the name namespace auto loading or by PHP frameworks. So let's take a look at the things that make our coding standard. So the first thing is the formatting overall. So inside formatting, there are multiple things like the one topic which can be is like indentation. So there is a debate over here in the programming world that how many space should be left for the when we are writing the first line. So it is like some programming languages uses tabs and all, but others uses spaces. In Drupal, it is two spaces. And if we have the habit of using the tabs and all, we can just go to the editor in view indentation and set the indentation using spaces and as width 2. So whenever you press the this tab, it will give up two spaces. The next one is the white spaces. There shouldn't be any trailing white spaces at the end of the line over here after the semicolon and all. There shouldn't be any white spaces. Then file ending should have a single blank line over here. So like this is over here, they use the single blank line. It is that /n format for the Linux part, and not for, we have to not use that /r/n for the Windows line 90. So this is why we put over here this /n like new line, because like to avoid that one page warning which comes, so that the patches are like easier to read since it's cleaner, and what is being used when lines are added at the end of the file over here. Then the next point is the line length. So line length of the characters should be in one line should be like 80 only. They have come up with this standard over here because of the readability purpose, just because of that. Otherwise like there is no issue like if you write on one line also. So but only because of that they have come up with this standard. So this is mostly used when we are declaring the arrays, or like we are having the long if conditions, something. Yeah, and then we have a very large comment over there. So for to read it becomes like very difficult. On one line only you have to scroll via the x-axis. That's why they have come up with this standard. The next one is the operators. Whenever we are using any operators, we have to leave one space before and after, like a double equal to or the plus, anything, any operation we are doing between the operator, there should be space before and after. Then the next point is like the function call and declaration. Whenever like we are writing any function and all, after the argument list, there should be a space and the opening of the curly bracket on the same line. And then we have to write the next line on the new line or with the two intended spaces. Then constants. Any constants, whenever we use, it should be in capital letters, uppercase. Then if there are two words, it should be separated by a underscore. Then the control structures like if condition for each and all, when we are writing, we have to write in a such a way that after the if there is a space between the condition, there is a space between the operator, there is a space, and the curly bracket should be on the same line as the argument over here. And the else if and all, when we are writing, it shouldn't come over here where the end of the curly brace is there, but it should come on a new line. Then every PHP, this is one of the basic, like every PHP statement should end in a semicolon. Then uh, in Drupal, we use only the opening PHP text, and we don't use the end PHP text. This is because like the reason is like when we put the end of the PHP tag, and if there is a space after that, it can cause errors over there. That's why we avoid using those close PHP tags. Then the next topic is the documentation. So why is documentation important? Documentation, it tells us like what our code does, and and it tells us like what the variables are used, what the function returns, what is expected from the code. But like each and every one of us like, no, I have written the code like, so it is a very simple code. like it's just a 4 line code, or like we will say like, no, I have done this code, so I remember what it is doing, like what variables are used and all. Yeah, we remember like what we had done like 1 week or 2 week or 1 month back. But what happens like if it was done like 5 6 months back, we won't like remember. We have to read the full code to understand like where the function was called, what arguments were passed to it and all. So that is why like documentation is one of the important thing in the code, because like when we write uh, the documentation in the code itself, it like talks to the other developer what we are trying to say when he's reading the code. And uh, and sometimes like we say like, no, this code is like very simple, just 2 lines code, why to like comment or anything. But yeah, it may be simple for like a developer who has been working like for 2 3 or more years, like, but what about a beginner who has just started to read the code to try to understand what it does and all? He may not know where the function calls are made, what arguments are passed to it and all. Like that is why the documentation is important in the code. So thanks to Drupal, like we have like some documentation standards set up in Drupal. So one of them is the doc blocks. So doc block is like specially formatted this block of information which goes on top of the page, like of each PHP page. And it is like, it is telling us like what is done in that code over there, or the what parameters are passed and all. So one of the topic from there is the file doc block. So file doc block, like it goes top of the file and it tells us like exactly what the file is doing. If the file is like doing some GTM work, it will say like it is building up the GTM forms over there in that file. So it is like that. And in over here in doc blocks, you can put up like who is the author over there, or the versions, or the date, and so on, like when it was done. The next part is the function doc block. So function doc blocks is like on top of every function in PHP, we write this block over here. It actually, it is not, it can be as per the standard, it can be written in one line, like the file returns a boolean this value. Okay, but that is fine, like if it's very simple. But like if you are trying to write a complex function and all, we have to like give the parameters, what parameters are passed to the function, what it returns, and what it does. Like, so yeah, so over here you all can see that param is used over here, the return is used. These are called as the tags. To make it is like a way to document like what parameters are passed to the function and what it returns. So the next topic is the tags. So as I mentioned in the previous slides, we are using in this doc blocks this tags. So similar, there are like many tags like which we can use in this doc block. So example, where, param, return, then see, to do, and many more. Like, so we have to make use of this so that we document the code properly. One of the most important one over here, I feel so, is like the to do one. Sometimes we think that there may be a case in the future and we may need to change the code in that function, but we don't document it anywhere that. So, and then when after like 1 year, if that change comes and on, we like go struggle to search where we have to make the change, in which function we have to make the change and all that. So it is like always better like when you're completed the work, and there can be a future change whenever another requirement comes and all. So we can just add a to do tag over here. Over here we can just add a to do tag and write over here what if some a different parameter is passed, like what change needs to be made. Then the inline comments. So inline comments are like explain you like line by line code, and it should be like always on top of the whatever you're trying to comment, like the PHP statement. So these are mostly used like where we have to like explain the conditions, if complex conditions are there, what it does and all. So that time we have to use these inline comments. So, so yeah, so like we have like looked at like few of the standards like in Drupal what we follow, but this was like only for PHP, and it was like only I explained only the simple ones. Like okay, so yeah, so it covered like nearly 60% of it. But there are more standards like so like in PHP there can be standards. There are most standards for the tweak files also, then the CSS also, then JavaScript. So how we can handle this everything? Okay, okay. And like as a developer, like they have given us a task like we won't be like and it needs to be completed urgent like in 1 hour. We won't be like look going for that to follow all the standards, and we will look at like how fast we can finish the task and get it done. And in that process, like we forget to maintain the standards. And then in future, like if anyone is referring the code and all, it becomes messy, and it is like difficult like to understand for the other person. So like how we can solve this thing about the standards? Like should we like after writing the code we sit and go back and format everything whatever we have written and all? It may take a quite some time. Like so like to this problem, like we can use something called as like this PHP code sniffer. So PHP code sniffer is like a library that tokenizes PHP, then CSS, JavaScript files, and detects those violations whatever are defined in their standards. So over here we are following the for Drupal the standards are like there are kinds of standards, Drupal and Drupal practice standards. But overall this code sniffer can be used for the other this also like PHP like WordPress and all. Over there, if they are following the PSR1, PSR2 standards and all, we can put up those standards over there and sniff the code and find the error. So to install the this code sniffer, we just need to run this command on Composer, and we will get this code sniffer on our system. So yeah, I'll show you all the demo. So the we have this PHP file over here. Sorry, CSS file we have over here. So this CSS file has some issues. I have missed a semicolon over here. This has come down to the next line over here. Okay. So and like if there are lots more issues like this, like the PHP file is very large. Like how to like solve this issue? Like so we have to use this code sniffer command. Okay, so PHP code sniffer, this PHP CS stands for PHP code sniffer. This stands for the standard what we are following. So we are following Drupal. There is one more standard for Drupal, which is Drupal practice. And then there are other PHP, these codes, if you want to sniff, you can use the PSR1, PSR2, PSR4, anyone, whichever one. Then the extensions, like for what extensions we are trying to sniff the code. So this is CSS, so it will take the CSS file sniff. Okay, and then the file names. So if I do this and enter over here, it is showing me all the list of errors. So many standards I have missed out on that. So you can see line indentation, I missed out line number 1. Over here, then mostly spacing. Okay, yeah, then this one, the first line. end of line character is invalid, expected slash n. I mentioned, right, Unix this file system we have to use, so slash n and not slash r slash n, which is the Windows one. So you can see at the bottom of this, there is over here this slash r slash n. So how we can fix all these things over here? So once we run this command, php cs code sniffer, it lists down the all the standard violation. So we can just fix this using this php cbf. So cbf stands for code beautifier and fixer. Okay, so these are solved these 136 issues over here in this file, and they have intended everything as per that standard over here. And now if we run the cs command again, code sniffer, you can see over here, right, 3 are remaining over here. This may be like it is crossing the line limit of the one. So yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, line number 24, I think so. It is showing that semicolon which is missed over here. Then line number 28 over here, you can leave two more than one space over here, so there are three blank line. And 106 sections are missed a semicolon. If I run the code sniffer again, there won't be any issues. So yeah, so this is like for the css file. So similarly, I'll show you another file. Okay, this is the module file. If I snip this file, I'm getting this issues again over here. This end of the line which is not there. Okay, let's see the first one over here. This one. Then a use statement which is at line number 11. So this is unused over here. That's why it is coming as unused. Then yeah, so over here we can see that the line declaration is crossing the line limit of 100. It should come to 80. And then over here, no key specified for the array entry. So these are the issues which are coming over here. And only out of this, only two can be fixed. So by this code beautifier and fixer. So yeah, and then if we snip again, there will be like the 6 issues which are already there. So 2 are fixed and the 6 will be like pending. So if we go over here and number 39. Yeah, so it is like crossing the 100 limit over here. Over here you can see here it is on the 102th character line. So it should be coming down over here like this. And if I snip it again, it will throw an error and try to fix it by intending it inside by 2 spaces. Then 39, there is white space. Yeah. So it solved the issue over here. It got intended accordingly. That white space, there was an additional white space which was coming over here. They removed it and they intended it properly. So similarly, this also other ones that can be fixed like similar way. Then one more thing like this documentation thing over here. If we remove this thing, okay. So if I remove, yeah. So if I remove these comments which are there on the top block, so function block, sorry. So what it does is it throws a error over here that this missing function doc comment like. So when we try to fix it, it will just put up the, it will just fix it over here and just put over here this asterisk signs like comment. So but we have to add the comment over here like what is required. Okay, so we are implementing that hook form alter, so we have to write hook form alter over here, and then the issue will be resolved from there. Then so if I snip this file over here, yeah, so there are like around uh, 19 20 errors and one warning like. So these are mostly the white space line issues, and then the call it has reached the 180 limits and all that. So and yeah, one issue can be like the closing brace for the class must have an empty line before it. So if we go over here 96 over here, this issue will get fixed. And so after running the beautify, like we have like 18 picks and like 4 pending, which will be like because of the character line, you know. And one is coming over line number 71 because this documentation part is like empty what this function is returning over here. Yeah, that one will be done. So after adding this over here. So yeah, and whenever we are documenting, like we can just write the command. Like these are like different ways we can add like variable like from where it we are using over here for dependency injection and all that. So this is the way like to document this code like so that other person can read. So few points like before like running the code sniffer is like we have to always commit the this code because like over here you're like a major change like took place in the indentation of this tags over here. So sometimes you may not require those and all, and like it may become difficult then to revert and all that. So always like commit those things and then like run the code sniffer and try to fix those issues. And like after running the code sniffer and fixing those, like always test this code. So and this thing can be used like for the git hooks and all, like so on github and all, like when we are committing the code, this code sniffer runs, and like if it finds any issue with respect to the standards and all, it can just stop you from committing the code. So we have on one of the projects like, and today only like we were working on one task, and one of the front end member like merged the let us develop into his branch and try to push it. But for over there, for which changes he had not done, but it was a PHP file and it had like some issues with respect to the standards, and it lost two errors, and we were like trying to fix those and then commit the code. So it is like not dependent only on like only the develop front backend developers require this, and all. Even the front end developers and all require this. And like so in Drupal, like we use like this PHP code sniffer. Also, there similar thing like a module is there called as coder, which can also be used. And for the front end, like we can use like PHP. There is a code sniffer for the HTML also. Those also can be used. So overall, like this is a like small package like which helps you like to document your code very well, so that others can understand and the same standard is followed by everyone. Yeah, that's it.